I need more bookish mom friends who isn't liberal. It's crazy that you're having such a hard time finding conservative friends that know how to read. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me that she's struggling to find bookish friends. Conservatives, pretty famously, not very good at art, writing books, writing literature, any form of art really, so doesn't surprise me, to be honest. This video brought to you by my YouTube members and patrons. Thank you guys. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Today we are going to be returning to r/SelfAwareWolves, a subreddit dedicated to people that are just so close to being self-aware. They say things without realizing what they're saying, and they're so close. They're so close to realizing it with the things they say, and yet they just don't quite get it. They don't quite understand. Very quickly before we begin, I just wanted to mention that I will be live in 2 hours as of this video going up. That's over at my Twitch, so if that is something that interests you, please do consider coming along, as I would love to see all of you there, and I love streaming. Also, YouTube members and patrons, you guys get an extra video every single week for as low as £1 a month. That equates to about 25p per video. So if that is something that interests you, please do consider joining, as that really helps support the channel, like far more than you might realize. Genuinely, £1 a month is the equivalent to over 1,000 views, so it helps so much more than you could possibly realize. Right, let's get into the subreddit, shall we? Dems are winning the media war in Minneapolis. Republicans have played decent defense, but we need more stories and images showing professionalism and compassion of ICE and Border Patrol, as well as stories/images of the victims of illegal alien violence. Man, I wonder why it is that she's not able to find, footage and stories of ICE and the Border Patrol and their professionalism and compassion. Maybe it's because those are exceptionally more rare than videos of ICE and the Border Patrol, I don't know, literally pinning people to the floor and executing them? This isn't a media war. This isn't some difference in footage and the Dems have just managed to win the media war. This is literally a group of armed soldiers, essentially, untrained people who have decided that they are the law, executing people in public on camera. At this point, if you support that, this is literally the difference between supporting of a rise of a fascist dictatorship using armed forces to enforce their view versus not supporting that. That's literally what this comes down to at this point. Angry young women are the vanguard of the left's toxic empathy. The woman in this photo was not actively protesting. She is autistic and was trying to go to the doctor's office when ICE agents dragged her out of her car and ripped off her seatbelt. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? They're trying to use a picture of a video of a woman being ripped out of her car by ICE because she was trying to go to the doctor's. They're trying to use that video, images of that woman, to claim that the left are crazy and outraged and I haven't even talked about the fact that they used the term toxic empathy, which honestly isn't the first time I've seen a phrase like that used, but the amount of times now that I have seen conservatives and alt-rights and even conservative religious people claim that empathy is somehow a bad thing, that empathizing with other human beings is somehow a bad thing. Like, it's baffling to me that you could say something like that and not realize you're the bad guy, right? You use a video of ICE ripping a woman out of her car who is not participating in a protest, is no way involved in any of this, is just trying to go to the doctor. They rip her out of her car and then put on the internet a post about it saying the left's toxic empathy. You know what? Yeah, I empathize with this woman. I think it's really shit that she's basically been assaulted for no reason. I absolutely have empathy for this woman. That's not toxic, that's human. The people doing this to her, that is not human behavior. That is monstrous. Together we can build a safer, cleaner city for our children. Fuck, look who the radical left just elected. Fuck, we're fucked. This is how you guys look right now, by the way. Maybe until you learn any history at all about socialism and how disastrous its economic consequences are. Where is socialism mentioned in this post? Yeah, I just really love how they're so fucking easy. They're so fucking easy. You make a comic of a guy saying, I think that we should create a safer and cleaner world. Isn't that a nice thing? And you have the caricature of someone being outraged by that. And it is a caricature in this post, right? of someone being outraged by that. But then they are so easy that they'll lean into that anyway. He'll bring up socialism, which I guarantee he can't define, which wasn't mentioned here, and use it as an excuse to talk about how someone who wants to build a safer and cleaner city is apparently a bad thing, right? They're so easy. You don't even have to like lead them into this. You make a comic about this as a joke and they'll become that comic. If socialism is wanting to make a safer and cleaner world for everyone, then fuck it, I guess I'm a socialist. It's so funny to watch these guys realize in real time their propaganda doesn't work anymore. Their midterm meltdown will be glorious. Take America back. Talking to anyone who gets news outside of X is an absolute nightmare conversation. They have no facts. They have no primary sources. It's almost impossible to come to a single point of agreement because they don't want to give up an inch of ideological ground. Nightmare. This is so fucking hilarious to me because anyone who gets their news outside of X, meaning anybody who gets their news from any source that isn't curated and managed by infamous Nazi and Epstein client Elon Musk, right? Like that's what they're saying. They're saying anybody who isn't entirely within the bubble of X, anybody who gets their news from anywhere else is hard to have a conversation with. They are so incredibly deep in their little bubble that they have not talked to a single person outside of X. They haven't gotten their news from any sources outside of X and assumedly Grok, an AI curated by a Nazi, that if they have a conversation with anybody who gets their news from anywhere else, they struggle to have that argument because all of their news comes from one place, X. That is not a valid way of gathering information and forming an opinion. You need to get your information from other places. Now, I know that I do a lot of videos on Reddit, right? That's kind of my channel. However, Reddit isn't my sole source of information. And I don't even live in America, so the majority of my news doesn't come from American news sources, right? I gather info from multiple places. I form my opinions based on the general consensus of as much information as I can gather. I have sources. In fact, I regularly cite my sources when I talk about pieces of information in my videos, right? This guy who gets his information from X, where his primary source is a fucking tweet, doesn't do that. And he's the one saying, man, arguing with people outside of my bubble sure is difficult. Like, for fuck's sake, this is the fucking world we live in. This is why it's so hard to have these arguments and to change people's minds, because you'll talk with someone who will genuinely think that they are more intellectual, that they have better and more valid information because they get it all from X. They genuinely believe that getting all of their info from X makes their information somehow more valid than yours. This is why it's so hard to change these opinions, because they live in an entire tiny little bubble and they somehow think that that is the entire world. ICE equals murderers. Pretty broad strokes there. Ironically, this type of rhetoric is what is creating the situations you're upset about. So, wait. So we're saying ICE are murderers, yeah, and that's making ICE into murderers. Rather than, I don't know, trying to like change the public view of ICE, rather than trying to improve as an organization, kill less people. No, the response to people calling them murderers is to become murderers. And we're supposed to accept that and be like, okay, that's fine actually. We're not supposed to protest that. We're not supposed to take issue with that. ICE becoming murderers as a response to people calling them murderers is supposed to be something we're just fine with. Yeah, no. Personally, I think that someone without fluency in a country's language might be an illegal immigrant. Guess I'm yet another racist then. Correct. Well, I'm glad they're aware of the fact. This is a true r/SelfAwareWolves post right here, because they're like, I guess I'm just another racist. Yeah, you are. You know, people can immigrate to a country without speaking that language, right? Like, they might be willing to learn. Maybe they're going to learn. They'll have children that will speak that language as well. Like, if you think that they are automatically, because they're not fluent in that language, then yeah, that makes you racist. Also, you know that the US doesn't doesn't have an official language, right? Like, English is the most spoken language in America, by far, unsurprisingly, but it was never legally made the official language of the US. Just gotta put that out there, that it's not the official language of the US. How ICE is using far-right subculture to recruit. As a conservative who voted for Trump, this comment gives me pause. It's well thought out. Unfortunately, due to the hatred I see from liberals, it won't change my mind. Talks about revenge against ICE or us and individuals, or threats alluding to violence has now made the next vote a simple vote for survival. Personal survival. So well played. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier though, why it's so hard to sway opinions, right? Because this guy sees an opinion that he thinks is a good point. He sees a point that someone has made, says, this was really well thought out. It gave me pause. It made me consider things. However, I got my fifis hurt, so I value that over integrity. Do I adjust my opinions based on points that I've read that have genuinely given me pause and something to think about? No, I got my feelings hurt. Therefore, I'm going to continue voting against that integrity and against those points that I actually might have agreed with. Oopsie. Like, oh God, it's childish. It's actually childish. You can't run a country on literally the most childish of moves and expect it to end well. You can't elect a literal man-child who's trying to launch a fascist dictatorship and expect that childishness isn't going to lean into how he runs the country. And rather than putting people in positions of power based on, I don't know, their qualifications, he puts his friends in those positions because they are his friends. We have a term for that. It's nepotism. Anyway, someone in the comments to that post did actually send a comic that was relevant to this guy being like, oh, you made a really good point. However, my feelings got hurt. Therefore, I guess I have to continue being a conservative, or I have to continue voting for an alt-right leader. My God, these Trump people are racist. That attitude is what's pushing me to be racist. Say what? Might as well. You say I'm a Nazi? So fine, I'll be a Nazi if that makes you happy. It doesn't. I bought this Waffen SS uniform for Halloween. You'll cry offensive, so maybe I'll just wear it every day. I just hate to do this. I feel really bullied. It is genuinely, it's like, these ideologies are wrong, Judging people based on their race is wrong. Harassing people based on their race or their sexuality or their gender, it is wrong. Running a country based on whiplash reactions where you are trying to control the government and narrative and eliminate any dissenting voices is wrong. And they're like, oh, well, if you think I'm a Nazi, then fine, I'll be a Nazi. It's like, I just pointed out that maybe the things you're aligning with are pretty bad. And you went, well, if that's the case, I'll lean into it harder. Like, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, I don't think you needed the excuse. I think you wanted to. I think you wanted to align with the Nazis to begin with, okay? If you don't want to align with Nazis, if that isn't something that you wanted to do, you wouldn't be doing it. So this one, unrelated to all of that, I wanted to get a couple posts in at least that are, about other things. So this is from a Grandparent Alienation 101 page, which is grandparents that are not being allowed to see their children, right? And they posted, delusional thinking disorder has its own DSM-5 classification. Previously known as paranoid disorder, DTD is a serious mental illness, a psychosis, in which a person cannot tell what is real from what is imagined. The presence of delusions is the main diagnostic criteria. A delusion is an unshakable belief in something untrue or something that is not based in reality. Grandparent alienators live in their own self-perpetuating delusion world of paranoia, believing that loving grandparents cannot be trusted and are harming their children. These alienators are mentally unbalanced, yet our precious grandchildren are left in the precarious care of such compromised persons, while DTD is not even recognized by professionals in grandparent alienation. That's, again, they're making all the right points in all the wrong places. So these are people that have been told that they can't see their grandchildren anymore, entirely based on things that they have done or said to said grandchildren or to their own children, right? They have behaved in toxic ways, they have done horrible toxic things, and their own children have gone, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to see my grandchildren anymore. And they have posted about DTD, delusional thinking disorder, and claimed that the people saying you you can't be near my children are the people delusional, not them, not they who could never possibly do anything wrong. They're not delusional in thinking that. No, it's their children who are delusional in saying that they can't be near them anymore. I just... They even go as far as to say it's not even recognized by professionals in grandparent alienation. So the professionals aren't recognizing that this delusion is at play here. Maybe it's not the children that they are claiming are delusional who are delusional here. Oh, there's a huge trend. We've talked about these in other videos that aren't SelfAwareWolves videos, of these grandparents and parents who have been cut off from their children and grandchildren, who refuse to acknowledge that they've done something wrong. They refuse to acknowledge that they were the problem, or that they were the reason that they've been cut off, that their behavior was the problem here. They become the most self-pitying little babies where they're like, no, have I done something wrong? No, it's my children that are the problem. And it's like that complete lack of any introspection or self-awareness or trying to improve is why they won't let you back in. So this one was from another alienated parents group where they said, no offense, but if I had to heal from you, you will never have access to me again. And it's like they don't understand that that's exactly it. If their children, if their own children have to heal from them, then yeah, their own children are not gonna want them near their children, right? If you have forced your children to have to heal from you, they're not gonna want to put their own kids through that. So of course you've been cut off from them. And yet they're like, no, I'm the one that has to heal from the abuse that my child has put me through by cutting me off from them. Like, fucking hell. This is exactly the problem. They cannot see past their own narcissistic views, that they're like, no, I'm the victim here. I'm the victim of my child cutting me off for my abusive behavior. Me, I am the victim. It's so pathetic. OP, I dare you to post this on r/AskIndianWomen. Oh, hell nah. I'd be labeled as insecure, misogynist, loser, potential, and whatnot. Yeah, So, a little concept. What did OOP say though? A link was posted and someone said, for anyone not wanting to click for whatever reason, it's a 1.5 minute long nonsense incel AI video. And yeah, I watched it. It's an AI cartoon. It's all incel core. Like, I find it incredibly hilarious that someone can post the most incel-y, like, nonsense, like, that kind of video. And then when someone's like, I dare you to post this in Ask Indian, they're like, no, I'd be labeled as insecure and a misogynist. And it's like, yeah, for a reason. You can see that, right? Like, you can see that you'd be labeled as that, which means that you acknowledge that what you have said might be insecure or misogynistic. It's just, otherwise you wouldn't be labeled as that, and you wouldn't assume that you would be labeled as that. I don't, how can you be so close and yet not get it? I don't understand how you can be that close and yet not get it, genuinely. And that goes for so many of these, from so many walks and opinions and views, that they'll just be so close and yet they just won't get it. Oh, God. I need to go have a lie down after that. Oh, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. If you would like to support me in making more content like this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below, or equally you can click on that join button on the channel to support me. It helps so much more than you might realize, but by no means should you feel like you have to. I'm going to keep making content regardless. But a huge, massive special thank you to all of the wonderful YouTube members and patrons who do support me. All of your names are up on screen right now. It genuinely helps so much, and it genuinely means so much. So thank you to everybody that does. I've had it asked a couple times now. I'm going to elaborate on this. What benefits me better out of YouTube and Patreon? And it's a bit of a mixed bag, but ultimately I get more of the money you guys give me if you support me on Patreon. YouTube takes a pretty hefty cut of, like, I think 40% from YouTube memberships, which is a pretty big cut, right? Whereas I think Patreon takes like 10%. So it's a pretty substantial cut that YouTube takes, right? However, YouTube is more likely to recommend my videos and my member videos to new people if I have more people watching them. So it is a mixed bag of, I'll get more people. I do have a lot more members on YouTube, but I get less money from those members, whereas I get more money from Patreon, but YouTube recommends the stuff less. So it's a mixed bag, essentially, is what I'm saying. So ultimately, it is up to you. I actually have a lot more members, but I do make more money from Patreon. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. So honestly, it's up to you guys who you'd basically rather give your money to, YouTube or Patreon. So yeah, that's what it comes down to, I guess. Other than that, that's all I have to say. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.